The other big topic of conversation here, the one everybody wants to talk about, the one everybody cares about, Justin Fields. I mean, didn't have the game of his life. Might have had the first half of his life. He finished the game 13-20 for 117 yards and a touchdown with 27 yards rushing on the day. The Steelers, the offense was not as fluid as it was last week against Atlanta. They did score a touchdown. That was huge. The first half, they looked great. The second half, they looked as stale as they possibly could. But to be honest, Justin Fields took a step forward. I'm looking Arthur Smith in the eyes in this one, and I'm saying, what are you doing, pal? Why did you do this? You could go back and count maybe on one hand how many times the Pittsburgh Steelers threw the football on second down in this one in the second half against the Denver Broncos. I mean, the play calling was bad, very bad. And I defended Arthur Smith last week. I said I thought the play calling was good for the circumstance that they were in. This week, it was bad. It was not a play call. It was not a game plan that I thought was efficient in the second half. The adjustments were not made. And when they didn't work, because I understood it, you were winning the first half. You don't fix something that's not broken. It broke in the second half. You got to fix it. They didn't fix it. They didn't have anything lined up in their back pocket to make these things better. That's on Arthur Smith. The offensive line is right there behind him because Justin Fields is running for his life every single drive in that second half. I mean, James Daniels played the worst half of football I've seen him play since he showed up in Pittsburgh. Zach Frazier disappeared. He was so good in the first half that I was laughing in the press box every time I saw him on the ground because it's like, this guy's a monster, man. Insane how good he is. Second half, terrible second half. There was almost nothing good about the Steelers' offensive line in the second half. That obviously means a tough time running the football. Arthur Smith's playing not to lose instead of continue to win. It was just a bad all around situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers and that offense. But that first half was crazy by Justin Fields. He's running all over the place. I think it was a 16-yard dart to the outside to keep the scoring drive alive. I thought was exactly why Justin Fields is the guy that should have the advantage in this situation. He finds Darnell Washington. He looks like he's making quick throws. There was one sack in the second half that he kind of like stopped and it was like he didn't know what to do in that moment. And I get it. No wide receivers were open, but you got to learn to run. And that was the only that's not the greatest by Justin Fields, I think, most of the game. He looked very fluid. He looked like a guy who, I'm going to make a bold claim here, but that was the best quarterback play the Pittsburgh Steelers have seen outside of Mason Rudolph last season since Ben Roethlisberger was here. Like with ease, the best half of football a quarterback's played in Pittsburgh since Ben Roethlisberger, outside of maybe Seattle, Mason Rudolph, maybe the second half of Buffalo, Mason Rudolph, but I still think Justin Fields is right there with him. George Pickens, if that connection continues to grow, I just don't know how you try to change that because George Pickens looks like he could beat anybody and Justin Fields is putting balls where they should not be. That deep ball to George that got called back on the Broderick hold, that was, if that's completed, that's a Sports Center top 10 play. Like when no questions asked, that's a Sports Center top 10 play if that doesn't get called back. That's how Justin's on the run, throws a dart over Pat Surtain to George Pickens on the 6-yard line. That was crazy. 50 yards down the field. And then does it again later, finds him, and George does. I don't know if they showed it on TV, but he basically did a split reaching for that end zone. It was pretty awesome. I still think, in my eyes, Justin is developing week by week. Because of that, I'm not shutting Russ down by no means. But those reports of, the Steelers have plans to start Justin Fields next week too. Yeah, I would imagine those are true because I got a hard time taking him off the field right now. The way I look at Justin Fields is that he went from training camp to being really bad day one. By week 2, he was like, oh, okay, there's a little progression there. Nothing crazy, but a little bit of progression. The preseason, he does almost nothing that impresses. Comes in week 1, looks good. It's like, okay, this is a competent quarterback. This is a guy that clearly took a step forward, clearly listened to not turn the football over. And then week 2 does what he did in the first half. And I'm looking at him going, okay, if you could do this for a full game, how good can you be? How good could the Pittsburgh Steelers be if you could do this for a full game? I'm not saying that Russ isn't better, because maybe Russ is better. Maybe Russ can give you a full game. What I'm saying is that at 25, for Justin to be taking the steps that he's taken and showing what he's showing, I'm not ready to give up on the kid, because sometimes you really have to look at it and say, we're winning. If they're losing, this is a totally different situation, but they're winning. And Justin Fields is out here doing good things and taking steps forward. I just have a super hard time saying bench him for the 35-year-old and never find out where this goes, because sometimes it's worth finding out where it goes. What's up, guys? It's football season, and we've teamed up with DraftKings. Right now, new customers who bet $5 will receive $250 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, you'll receive 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. It's hard to think of a better way to celebrate fall weather, your favorite jersey, and Sunday touchdowns than with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings app and use our promo code ALLSteelers. That's $250 in bonus bets instantly and 1 month of NFL Plus Premium after betting just $5. Stay in the action and use your $250 in bonus bets to bet anytime touchdowns on DraftKings. DraftKings is the place to bet touchdowns. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You could still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code ALLSteelers and bet just $5 on any wager and get $250 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSteelers only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Wow, what were your thoughts on Justin yesterday? Am I just kind of talking and maybe being a little bit too optimistic about the situation?
No, I thought when you look at that game yesterday, you saw in the first half what he could be at his best. And that is with an imperfect offensive line. We already went into what they did at right tackle, and that's fine. I thought there were some plays that the offensive line, struggled to get a lot of movement on. But for the most part, that was the best I think you're going to see from either of these two quarterbacks, is what you had in Justin in the first half. And he does things that Russell can't. The second half, I agree with you that it isn't all on Justin. I think there were times where a couple of overthrows here, missed target here. The decision-making was a little off there. But again, those are all things that we've talked about with Justin since he came to Pittsburgh and since they started in OTAs. But I think what you're seeing is he's limiting those. He's limiting the mistakes. And as of right now, he hasn't turned the ball over. There was another CQ exchange that was a little weird on the timing. And again, we might not get an answer to why the ball was snapped and Justin wasn't ready or anything like that. But at the same time, that's the only thing they have to clean up. It hasn't burnt them yet. Let's hope that they don't keep, tempting fate in that. But for the most part, he's played clean games. That's what the Steelers need him to do. And honestly, it seemed as if, to go back to the Arthur Smith point, it seemed as if Denver had a counterpunch to what Pittsburgh did. And that's fine. That's going to happen in the NFL. And then Pittsburgh didn't adjust for all the things we talked about with Arthur Smith in week 1 and how much we praised his ability to make in-game adjustments. He just didn't do it on Sunday. And it seemed like they were a little too conservative and weren't really interested in it because the Steelers defense was so good early in that game and really so good that entire game yesterday.
Yeah. The Steelers defense is there's like a real thought. Corey Trice intercepts a ball. I'm like, yep, nope. They might be the best in the league. I might be the icing on the cherry on top there. I went over to Corey after the game and I was just like, yo, dude, were you surprised that they threw it your way? And he was like, no, what I was surprised about is that I looked him in the eyes before he threw the football. I was like, that was awesome. That was awesome. The Steelers handed out 2 game balls yesterday, which were sick. One to Corey Trice and one to they didn't hand out game balls. Like they got to keep game balls, one to Corey and one to Darnell. That's how you know this team's developing. But I digress. I agree with you. I think if the defense continues to play as good as it is, okay, and the offense could continue to grow, and this is not just Justin Fields. Like if we're going to sit here, Arthur Smith should be considered to be benched for whoever just as much as Justin Fields should be considered to be benched for Russell Wilson, because it was equally on him than anybody else. And the same with that offensive line. Like if you can't do anything, you can't ask people to do stuff. But that's where I think Justin could get to, is I think Justin has the potential to get there to be a full four quarters of, the offense is struggling, but I can make plays. I can win a shootout. I could do these things. You could put it on my back. I still don't think the Steelers trust him all that much to put it on his back for an entire game. I still think that the Steelers look at this sometimes and say, don't lose this football game. That's Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin, at the end of the day, doesn't want to lose football games. And once he gets a lead, he's playing don't lose football, which bites him in the butt a lot of times. But he also wins a lot of football games. And you got to wonder if it works. And it definitely holds guys like Justin Fields back. It definitely holds guys like George Pickens back, and potentially this offensive line and the running game and so on and so forth. I mean, if you're playing fantasy football, these are not guys you want on your team. But Mike Tomlin wins, and I think that's on him. Like, I would not be surprised if Mike Tomlin said, do not turn the ball over. Do not waste this game away. Do not give them good field position. It does not matter if we punt every time. Our defense will hold up. Like, that wouldn't shock me at all, and it shouldn't shock anybody else either. But the way I look at it right now is Justin's got so much in front of him that I got to see where it goes. I'm not ready to hang this up yet. I'm not ready to shut the door. And to be honest, the Steelers are in a great position, because we could drag this out as long as they want to drag it out. You want to go 4 or 5 weeks, that's awesome. The second that they say Russ is back in there, Russ is back in there. Until then, Russ is hurt. And we've said that 40, 50 times. Russ is hurt. See what you got in Justin. This is your opportunity. You don't want to sign him to an extension at the end of the season with 2 games under his belt and say, well, we saw good things in those 2 games. No, give him 4 games. Give him 5 games. And from there, you should know if he's your starting quarterback for the rest of the season or not. And if he's not, maybe you don't extend him next year. But if he is, you just got a quarterback at 25 years old. That looks pretty good. Like, I don't know. The way I look at Justin is this is Justin's job until Justin loses this job, or until the Pittsburgh Steelers lose it for him. And I think both of those things are very possible, but they didn't happen in week 2. And I'm looking at week 3 saying Justin's got more to give. Let's see what we can get out of him.